All right, so Stephen Hawking's A Brief History of Time.
Yeah.
Huge book, right? But infamous for, like, just sitting on people's shelves,
Right.
not actually getting read.
Oh, yeah.
So is it worth your time?
I'd say if you're fascinated by the universe
Okay.
and like a good challenge, then absolutely.
All right.
But if you're looking for something light and breezy,
Yeah.
this may not be for you.
Okay, so over the next few minutes, let's break down exactly what makes this book so fascinating
Okay?
and who would really enjoy it.
Yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head there. It's definitely not for the faint of heart,
Yeah.
but it's very rewarding if you're willing to put in the work.
Perfect. Now, I've heard some people say that Hawking was a genius for explaining very complex ideas simply,
Mm-hmm.
but others say it left them feeling more confused than enlightened.
Right.
So you're a pick it.
Well, I mean, he really does have a knack for bringing very abstract concepts down to earth, but he doesn't shy away from the fact that the universe is mind-bending.
Yeah.
So, take for instance, like his explanation of black holes.
Okay.
He uses this analogy of a collapsing star where gravity becomes so intense that even light can't escape.
Oh, okay. So you're talking about.
Mhm.
I remember seeing that visualization in a documentary. It's like
Okay,
it
yeah.
implodes on itself,
Yes.
creating this infinitely dense point in space.
Exactly, yeah. And he takes you on that journey step by step, showing how scientists arrived at that,
Right.
that understanding. It's not just like, here's an equation.
Yeah, yeah.
He really paints a picture with his words.
That's reassuring.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly a physics whiz,
Right.
so I was a bit worried about getting bogged down in technical jargon.
Yeah, I think a lot of readers feel that way, but that's where his skill as a science communicator really shines.
Okay.
He knows how to connect with people who, maybe don't have a PhD in astrophysics.
So where would you, if we're talking about comparing it to other popular science books, where does A Brief History of Time kind of fit in?
Yeah.
Would you say it's more like a textbook or more like, I don't know, like a narrative-driven exploration?
It's definitely more narrative driven than a textbook.
Okay.
It's almost like he's taking you on this personal tour of the universe,
Uh-huh.
sharing his insights and discoveries along the way, kind of like,
Okay.
Carl Sagan's Cosmos,
Okay.
but digging a little deeper into the physics.
Ah, Cosmos. That's a good comparison. Cosmos had a similar sense of wonder
Yeah.
and exploration, but it was a bit more accessible.
Yeah.
Maybe because it focused on visuals and the history of scientific discovery.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, Sagan was a master storyteller, and he really leaned on the power of imagery.
Right.
Hawking, on the other hand, he's more focused on the theoretical framework. He wants to take you into the heart of black holes, the Big Bang, the nature of time itself. Like, he really wants you to understand the underlying principles.
So less about pretty pictures and more about the core concepts.
Yeah, exactly.
I can see how that might be intimidating for some readers.
It can be,
Yeah.
but it's also incredibly rewarding. I think of it like,
Yeah.
Sagan, he's giving you this breathtaking view of the universe, right?
Okay.
Hawking's handing you the blueprints.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've established that A Brief History of Time is a challenging but insightful read.
Uh-huh.
But let's be honest. This book was published back in '88.
A while ago.
Science moves fast. How much of it is still relevant today?
That's a valid concern, right? I mean, there definitely have been advancements in cosmology since
Okay.
then, but the core concepts that he lays out, I think, are still incredibly relevant.
Okay.
For example, like his discussion of the Big Bang Theory,
Uh-huh.
while, it was limited by the knowledge at the time,
Right.
it still provides a really solid foundation for understanding, more recent discoveries.
So it's not like reading a physics textbook from the 1800s
Right.
where everything is completely outdated.
No. I mean, the fundamental principles haven't changed.
Right.
What's changed is our level of detail and the sophistication of, like, our observational tools.
Okay.
So it's, think of it like this. He's providing this basic map of the universe, right?
Yeah,
And it's still accurate, but we've just filled in a lot more of the blank spaces.
that makes sense. But knowing that there's updated theories out there, is there a risk of getting, like, the wrong information
I see what you're saying.
from reading this book? Or would you say that some parts are actually outdated or just that there's more to the story?
I'd say it's more that there's more to the story. I mean, even Hawking himself
That's right.
acknowledged that our understanding of the universe is constantly evolving.
Okay, that makes me feel better about diving in, but I have to admit, I've skimmed through it, and some of these concepts are pretty dense. Like
Yeah.
that whole thing about the universe having no boundaries. What is that?
Yeah, the no boundary proposal. That is one of the most intriguing and challenging ideas in the book.
Okay.
Basically, what he's proposing is that the universe is finite,
Okay.
but it has no boundaries or edges, much like the surface of a sphere.
Okay.
So if you can imagine, like, this tiny, incredibly dense point
Yeah.
containing all the matter and energy of the universe, and then that point expands.
Yeah.
But it's not expanding into something else. It's
Okay.
creating space and time as it goes.
Whoa. Okay. So it's not like the Big Bang happened somewhere
Right.
and then expanded outward.
That's how we often visualize it.
Right.
But he's challenging that traditional view. He's arguing that the Big Bang wasn't an explosion in space,
Yeah.
but rather the beginning of space and time itself.
Okay.
And if the universe has no boundaries, then it might also have no beginning or end.
I think I need to sit down for a minute.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in.
Just trying to wrap my head around like the concept of infinity.
It's definitely a challenging concept,
Yeah.
but that's part of what makes the book so fascinating. He's really pushing you to think beyond the limits of your current understanding.
Okay, before we get too far down the rabbit hole of theoretical physics, let's bring it back to the reader experience.
Yeah.
If someone's on the fence about reading A Brief History of Time, what would you say are like the 3 biggest reasons to give it a shot?
Okay. So number one, it's just beautifully written. It's very engaging, and it's an exploration of some of the most profound questions that humanity has ever asked.
Yeah.
Number two, it provides this really solid foundation for understanding the fundamental principles of the universe,
Right.
even if some of the details have been updated since its publication.
Okay.
And number three, it's just a testament to the power of the human mind
Yeah.
to even grapple with the vastness and complexity of the cosmos.
I love that. It's not just about learning facts.
Right.
It's about expanding your sense of wonder
Yeah.
and appreciation for the universe. So for our listener who's still weighing their options,
Uh-huh.
should we just jump right into the no boundary proposal?
Oh, wow.
Or are there some other equally fascinating topics we should tackle first?
Let's save the no boundary proposal for later. It's kind of like dessert best enjoyed after you've had the main course.
I like where this is going.
Mm-hmm.
So what's on the menu for our next intellectual course?
Well, since we already touched on black holes, I think it would be fascinating to explore his views on the nature of time itself.
All right, I'm ready to warp speed ahead. Let's do it.
Let's go.
Welcome back. We're digging into Stephen Hawking's A Brief History of Time,
Yes.
getting a taste of what makes this book such a classic.
Right.
And last we left off, we were about to explore Hawking's take on time itself.
Yes, and this is where things get really interesting. Most of us we think of time as this linear, straightforward thing, right?
Yeah.
But Hawking, he challenges that notion,
Okay.
suggesting that time is actually relative and it can even be warped by gravity.
Wait, hold on. So you're telling me that time isn't constant, like it can speed up or slow down?
Precisely. Think of it like this. Imagine 2 clocks, okay?
Okay.
One here on Earth
Uh-huh.
and one, let's say, near a black hole.
Right.
Because the gravity is so much stronger near the black hole,
Right.
the clock there would actually tick slower
Oh, wow.
than the one on Earth.
Really? So if I spent like a year hanging out by a black hole, I'd come back younger than everybody else on Earth. That's like
Got it.
straight out of a sci-fi movie.
Well, I mean, the time difference would be minuscule unless you were extremely close to the black hole.
Okay.
But the principle holds true. You know, Einstein's theory of relativity.
Right.
It shows that gravity actually affects the fabric of space-time, causing it to curve.
Uh-huh.
And the stronger the gravity, the greater the curvature, and the slower time flows.
Okay, that's blown my mind a little bit, but it also makes me wonder if time can be warped like that.
Yeah.
Does that mean it's actually possible to travel through time? Like Back to the Future, maybe?
That's the question that has captivated scientists and sci-fi writers for ages. And Hawking actually explores this possibility in the book, delving into concepts like wormholes,
Right.
which are these theoretical tunnels through space-time.
Okay, yeah. I remember seeing those in movies, like these swirling vortexes that transport you across the galaxy.
Right.
But are those based on real science, or is that just Hollywood special effects?
I mean, they're a theoretical possibility based on Einstein's equations.
Oh, okay.
However, there's no observational evidence to suggest that they actually exist.
Right.
And even if they did, it's highly debatable whether they could be used for time travel.
Okay.
Hawking himself had kind of mixed views on the matter.
All right, so maybe hold off on building that time machine for now. But even if time travel remains in the realm of fiction, the idea that time itself is relative, it's pretty mind-blowing.
Absolutely.
But does Hawking connect that to any of the other big ideas in the book?
Absolutely. I mean, it ties into his discussion of the Big Bang and the nature of the universe itself.
Right.
If we think of time as this flexible, dynamic entity,
Yeah.
it changes our whole perspective on the origins of the cosmos.
I'm starting to see how all of these concepts kind of fit together. It's not just like a collection of random facts about space.
Right.
It's like a framework for understanding the universe
Yeah.
at its most fundamental level.
Exactly. And that's what makes A Brief History of Time so compelling.
Yeah.
It's not just about what we know, but also about how we know it
Yeah.
and what it all means.
Speaking of meaning,
Yes.
we talked earlier about how Hawking touches on the question of God in this book.
Mm-hmm.
Does he delve into that more deeply when he's discussing the nature of time and the Big Bang?
He does. He raises this question of whether the laws of physics are sufficient to explain the universe,
Okay.
or whether there's like a need for a divine creator.
Right.
He suggests that a complete understanding of the universe might reveal the mind of God.
Okay.
But he also cautions against interpreting that too, literally.
So he's not like ruling out the possibility of a higher power,
Right.
but he's also not saying it's necessary to explain the universe.
That's a good way to put it. I think he leaves room for both scientific and spiritual interpretations,
Yeah.
which I find refreshing because it avoids that kind of, science versus religion debate
Right. Right.
that often gets in the way of genuine inquiry.
That's really interesting. It sounds like he's encouraging readers to kind of wrestle with these big questions themselves,
Yeah.
rather than providing like all the answers.
Exactly.
Okay.
He presents the scientific evidence, he explores the implications, and then he kind of leaves you to draw your own conclusions.
Yeah.
It's an invitation to think deeply about our place in the cosmos
Right.
and the nature of existence itself.
Okay, so we've talked about black holes,
Yeah.
the nature of time, the Big Bang.
Yeah.
Are there any of the big topics we should touch on
Sure.
before we give our final verdict on the book?
There are several, but one that stands out to me is his discussion of the search for a unified theory,
Okay.
a single set of laws that could explain all the forces of nature.
Wait, there isn't one already.
Yeah.
I thought scientists had figured out pretty much everything by now.
Well, I mean, we've come a long way, but there are still some fundamental mysteries that we haven't solved.
Okay.
For example, we have one set of laws that governs gravity. We have another set of laws that governs electromagnetism and the weak and strong nuclear forces,
Right.
the forces that are at work inside atoms.
Yeah.
And finding a way to unify these different frameworks
Yeah.
is one of the biggest challenges in modern physics.
So it's like trying to find like the missing piece of a puzzle
Yes.
that would reveal like the complete picture of the universe.
Exactly. And Hawking, he believed that such a theory might not only explain the universe,
Right.
but also reveal something profound about the nature of reality itself.
This all sounds incredibly fascinating, but I have to be honest, I'm starting to worry about information overload a little bit.
Yeah,
It feels like I'm drinking from a fire hose of cosmic knowledge right now.
I understand. It's a dense book, and it can be a lot to absorb, but that's also part of its appeal. It invites you to slow down,
Okay.
ponder each concept, revisit the sections that challenge you.
Okay, good to know. So before we wrap up, let's bring it back to our listener who's trying to decide if they should,
Yeah,
take the plunge and read this book.
right.
Would you say that knowing a bit about physics beforehand is like a prerequisite,
Yeah.
or can someone with a more casual interest in science still enjoy it?
You definitely don't need a physics degree to appreciate the book.
Fair.
I mean, Hawking's writing is very clear, it's engaging,
Yeah.
and he uses analogies and examples that make even the most complex concepts accessible.
Right.
That said, it does require some effort and a willingness to grapple with abstract ideas.
All right, that's helpful. So it sounds like A Brief History of Time is a bit like a challenging hike.
Mm-hmm.
You might break a sweat,
Yeah,
but the view from the summit is well worth it.
that's a great analogy. It's a journey that requires effort, but the rewards are immense.
Yeah.
You'll come away with a deeper understanding of the universe.
Yeah.
And perhaps even a newfound appreciation for the beauty and mystery of existence itself.
I love that. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've been on this journey through Stephen Hawking's A Brief History of Time, and man, my brain feels like it's been doing some cosmic gymnastics.
It's definitely a workout for the mind.
It is a good workout, though, right? We've covered so much: black holes, the nature of time,
Yeah.
the Big Bang,
Unified theory.
even the search for a unified theory. But what's really struck me, I think, throughout our conversation is Hawking's ability to kind of weave these like complex scientific ideas
Right.
with these like big philosophical questions about our existence.
Absolutely. I mean, he's not just explaining the mechanics of the universe.
Right.
He's really inviting us to contemplate like its meaning, its origins, and our place within it.
Yeah, and that's what makes this like so much more than just a science book, right? It's like a
Yes.
reflection on the human desire to understand the universe,
Yeah.
to grapple with like the biggest questions that we can ask.
He really does tap into that sense of wonder that I think we all have, like that innate curiosity about where we come from and what it all means.
Okay, so we've kind of walked our listener through the highlights, the challenges, the enduring relevance of A Brief History of Time. But it's decision time.
Okay.
For someone who's listening to this, they're intrigued. They're on the fence. What's your final verdict?
Okay.
Read it, skip it.
If you have even a spark of curiosity about the universe,
Okay.
about those big why questions that keep you up at night,
Yeah.
I wholeheartedly recommend reading A Brief History of Time. It's a challenge,
Yeah.
yes, but it's one of those books that can really change the way you see the world.
Right.
It's a journey into the heart of the cosmos and a reminder of just how extraordinary it is that we get to be a part of it all.
I love that. It's not just about acquiring knowledge.
Right.
It's about experiencing that sense of awe and wonder that comes with exploring the unknown.
Exactly. And while it's true that science has advanced since the book was first published, the fundamental concepts that he lays out, I think, remain incredibly relevant.
Yeah.
It's a testament to his brilliance as a thinker and a communicator
Right.
that his ideas continue to resonate with readers decades later.
So for our listener who is ready to take the plunge, any final words of advice before they embark on this cosmic adventure?
Don't be afraid to take it slow.
Okay.
Embrace the challenge, and if you get stuck, don't hesitate to revisit a section.
Right.
Or look things up online. There are countless resources available to help you delve deeper into the concepts that intrigue you the most.
Yeah.
And remember, even the most brilliant minds, they don't grasp everything on the first try.
Right.
It's the journey of discovery that's just as important as the destination.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
And on that note, as we conclude our deep dive into Stephen Hawking's A Brief History of Time,
Yeah.
I'm left with this kind of lingering question for our listener.
Oh, I love a good lingering question. What's on your mind?
Well, we've talked about understanding the universe, its laws, its
Yes.
origins,
Right.
but does that understanding, that knowledge, diminish our sense of wonder,
Right.
or does it amplify it?
That's a question for each reader to ponder. For me personally, the more I learn about the universe, the more mysterious and magnificent it becomes. It's like peeling back layers of an infinite onion.
Right?
Every answer reveals even more questions.
I couldn't agree more. And that's the beauty of science, of exploration, of diving deep into the unknown.
Yes.
It's not about finding all the answers.
Right.
It's about reveling in the mystery and constantly seeking those new perspectives.
And who knows, maybe somewhere out there in the vastness of space,
Yeah.
there are other beings asking the same questions, seeking the same answers,
Right.
sharing that same sense of cosmic wonder.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning,
Yes.
and keep diving deep.
Yeah.